Hello, I'm Brent Stafford, and this is Aftermath of Murder, Survivor Stories, a multi-part video series produced in support of the National Victims of Crime Week. Aftermath of Murder features exclusive interviews with ordinary people who have experienced an extraordinary event, the devastating loss of a loved one through murder. For most of us, our only experience with murder is vicarious, through fictional stories in film and television, and via the real-life sensational details covered in the news. We are captivated by the grisly details of murder, the whodunit, and the court trial. Rarely do we get a full picture of the victim, and almost never any true understanding of the terrible emotional impact on the survivors of murder. This series goes behind the headlines as survivors share their stories about the loss, grief, trauma, and the hope for healing in the aftermath of murder. Joining us today for the second video in our week-long series is Joanne Turner-Crean and Patricia Ducharme from the BC Victims of Homicide and the BC Bereavement Helpline. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Brent.
Thank you, Brent.
So you two represent the organizations that actually are responsible for Aftermath of Murder. Tell us a little bit first, Joanne, about BCBH, and then Chris, how you got involved.
The Bereavement Helpline is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. It was founded by some caring individuals in the community who recognized a very dire need for there to be a central hub for people to call in and get support. And we deal with losses of all types, but it became really apparent in the last 10 years that there was a lack of support for victims of homicide. And specifically, victim services were calling us a lot, and it was a terrible feeling to have nowhere to go.
Within the first year of moving to Vancouver, the reason I was so adamant about finding this support was twofold, actually. One was for personal reasons. I had a loss myself. My mom was murdered when I was 14 by a former boyfriend, but also a former Vancouver police officer. And I was fortunate enough to come in contact with a support group in Edmonton called the Victims of Homicide Support Society of Edmonton. I was able to attend a couple sessions before I moved here, and that was one of my visions, was to start a group up in Vancouver. So when we connected, there was just this chemistry of how can we provide this service that is inexistent, and why is it inexistent? And who can we call upon to get involved and engaged? Being a survivor is, in some ways, I like to say it's a choice. A choice to take a circumstance that is horrific and disempowering, but making decisions in your life that are going to better equip you to manage stress and learn how to cope with the trauma, and surround yourself with people who can also lend that support for healing.
And Joanne, that's one of the things really as the umbrella organization, BC Bereavement Helpline, you guys are responsible with BCVOH in creating the environment around that help.
Victims of homicide need really specialized training and engaging people in the community. When Chris and I met, it did take years of us planning and talking about who, as he said, who to be engaged and who to bring in so that we could make quality care for this. There is definitely a need for funding in this organization to be able to hire specialized, trained, qualified,
people to deal
educated
with
people. You cannot throw these people into just sort of a peer group without a lot of support.
Right. And Chris, you've obviously been through some of the support groups yourself. Tell me a little bit about why they're so important.
It was a place where you don't have to always explain everything. It's a kind of a common understanding that is at a level that I have never experienced before. Trying to find, like friends or people that have not experienced it, there's no way they can truly understand it. And I say the one word that really sticks out in my mind of all the victims and survivors that I've met is the word understanding.
What about the people who don't have that fortunate luck to have somebody who understands and knows that you guys are there?
Getting the word out is huge, and then just victim services are a huge link for us. And when the person is told, just having that knowledge that there is someone out there who understands, when they get that, when that phone call comes to the office, and they may possibly be speaking to one of our volunteers who's specially trained, but they also have had a loss. It's unbelievable, the feeling of relief, as you said, that caller gets from being acknowledged on an equal level. and then knowing that they're going to be sharing in a room with other people who've gone through similar feeling, it is a very powerful connection.
On behalf of BC Victims of Homicide, you've got your viewers here. What's your message and call to action for them?
Most importantly, if there are victims out there, survivors, people who've had this happen in their lives, really encourage them to call the helpline to get that support, to connect. If you know of somebody who has been impacted that you think could benefit from this program, encourage them or share this information with them. And if there's anybody out there that wants to contribute in any way, being a board member or being involved in a greater capacity, we would encourage that also.
If you or someone you know has experienced a loss through homicide, go to the BC Victims of Homicide website at bcvoh.com to find available resources and information on upcoming support groups. If you're interested in volunteering or to make a donation, visit the BC Bereavement Helpline website. And to reach both by phone, call 604-738-9950 or toll free 1-877-779-2223. This has been Aftermath of Murder Survivor Stories.